Well, hello, Miss Noss.
Hi, how are you?
I'm
Thank you
wonderful.
for joining.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for the invitation. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. It is Miss Noss?
It's pronounced with a K, Knaus,
Oh,
but
Knaus.
I'll
Okay.
take whatever.
Thank you. All right. I want to make sure. Hey, well, having the last name Camacho, I get that. Ooh, it's been a lot of different things in my lifetime. Hey,
Or you can
Shannon,
just call
how
me
are you?
Elise, that's fine too.
Oh, thank you. Well, and please call me
Hi,
Chris. I
Shannon.
wouldn't want it any other way. Please
Okay.
put that there, and that's what I need to be called. Beautiful background, Shannon. I'm jealous. That's so nice back there.
Are you still at school or are you at home?
Oh, me? No, I'm at home now. I debated. I was like, do I go to the school? Do I stay? I was like, I'll come home. Now, I will apologize now if my cat jumps up here. She's notorious for jumping right in front of me. We had our PTSA general meeting last night, and she just sat up right next to me and started pouncing me in the head. That's her favorite thing to do, is just pop me in the head. So, so my wife has the dogs in the other room, but she can't take the cat with her because the dogs and the cat, well, they're still getting along. So here she comes. She hears me talking. You're going to see her here in a minute.
That's great.
She's trouble with a capital T, but she's awesome.
Well, I apologize if one of my 3 kids comes on my head or something like that.
well, we've seen all the fun stuff that come along with Zoom meetings or online meetings, you know. So they're bound to happen. No worries at all. I'm an empty nester now, so our animals are my kids. Yeah. But no, thank you for allowing me to be part of this. This is neat. I love it.
Great. I'm watching the participants, and I think people are continuing to log in.
Yeah.
And I have your presentation.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Would you like me to share along with while you're talking?
Yeah, as I get started, that will be it. There'll be 2 others joining me for the presentation component of this. And they'll be doing a couple slides, but we went through it, so they'll know when to take over and join along.
Great. And to everyone joining, thank you for being with us this evening. We'll give it a few more minutes to allow people to log in.
Yeah. Hey, there's Mr. Kempinger.
Good evening. I had somebody knocking at the door, so my dog goes a little crazy when that happens. I might be in and out of the mute function just for that.
Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Mr. Stone. Hey, Matt. All right.
I'm actually going to grab a better lamp so that I'm not a shadow. So hold on just one second. Sorry about that, folks.
You need one of those Zoom lights, the circle.
I think Matt needs Miss Hodges, our theater teacher here, to discuss lighting and.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not much better here, though.
Yeah, well, me neither. I'm cautioning my lighting. I don't want to blind you all. There's certain things my father left me with. One of these and a good one of these. That's it. Well, and his height too. So what are you gonna do?
And we're just coming up on 6:30 now, but we'll just give people another minute or two.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Great. And for those of you that are on, so we have a format for the evening, but the chat function should be open to you all. If not, let me know, and then you can use that to submit questions, and I'll help to moderate those questions. I just see a few more trickling in.
Sure.
Okay. All right, we will get started. So thank you everyone for joining. I am Elise Knaus, this year's PTA president, and we wanted to host this event in order to help the transition process from elementary to middle school. We know there's some things already in place, but we felt that this would be a good supplement. And we wanted to do it early on in the school year because I feel like people are already thinking about these things and thinking about middle school. So it doesn't hurt to start this conversation sooner rather than later. I'm joined with me by four guests from Glenridge Middle School. So we have Dr. Camacho, who is the Glenridge Middle School principal. I'm joined by Mr. Astone. Am I saying that correctly? Yes, cool. Okay, great. He's the IB coordinator. And then Mr. Keppinger, the assistant principal of instruction. And last but not least, Shannon McDonald, who is the Glenridge Middle School PTA president. And so the format of the night is this, but please feel free to give your questions at any point in the night, and I'll insert them where the best place is. And we're not strictly held to this, but I thought it would serve as a good framework for the discussion. So we'll start with Shannon to give a little bit of information about PTA at Glenridge Middle and how you can get involved next school year. And then we're going to do an overview of the different programs at Glenridge Middle. We know that they have the IB offering, and it'd be good to know what else is also available at Glenridge Middle School. I want to talk a little bit about electives, what's available, how do you choose, is it for the semester, for the year, so more details on electives. Resources, so outside of the day-to-day curriculum, what else is available at Glenridge, clubs, after-school activities, what non-instructional staff is there to help. And then lastly, I just want to touch on security and safety. So, Shannon, I will give you the floor.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay? Just want to make sure. Okay, good. So my name is Shannon McDonald, and it's been such a crazy year. I know you guys have all had the same similar experiences with COVID and launch ed and all of that. But our PTA, I joined the board back in June as the recording secretary because they didn't have one. And we have since lost most of the board due to people moving, mostly, actually, literally everybody moved. Some to Seminole County, some to South Florida, somebody to Utah, one person to private school. So over the course of the year, I stepped into a VP position. And so I'm serving as the president to finish out the school year. So that's how I went from being secretary to president in just 4 short months. So it's been great. Dr. Camacho has been great to work with. The staff and administration, everybody's been great to work with. The biggest things that I wanted to share, actually had a couple of parents that are at Baldwin Park right now reach out to me and say, hey, we want to be able to get involved next year. How do we do that? And so when I got the email asking if I'd come to the meeting, I thought, well, I love PTA. I was president at my youngest son's elementary school for 2 years. And I just love everything the PTA can do for our kids, for our parents, for our teachers, for our staff. And so that's just kind of why I've stayed involved. The biggest thing that I want to make sure that everybody knows is if moving on to middle school and staying involved at the middle school level is something you're interested in doing, we actually formed our nominating committee for next year's board last night. So we have 3 members of that, and they will start looking at applications and pulling together a slate. I know that anybody who's part of PTA in any capacity right now probably understands that the board gets voted in via a slate at the end of every school year to start for the next year. So that's what we will be working on forming over the next couple of months. And then we will walk into we will vote in positions in May. And so if you are a parent who is super interested in being involved at the middle school level, which I highly, highly recommend, it's a great way to stay in touch with your kids' school. You do have to be a member of our PTA 30 days before that vote happens. So it's $5 to join our PTA. You do have to be a member of ours in order to be voted in. So that's really one of the big messages I want to make sure people understand is we would love to have you. Your $5 goes to support the school that your kids are coming into anyway. So I will actually have to log in from my computer to share the links to our member hub where you can join PTA and kind of get a little bit of info on what we do. But it's been a really neat experience to be part of it this year, even with COVID and even with events being canceled and things like that. Of course, we've had to pivot everything this year too. Just like you guys had a fundraiser that you normally do in person, we normally do in person, and it went virtual this year. Most of the schools around us have done the same thing. So we actually had we were able to raise some money that we weren't necessarily expecting that we'd be able to do being a virtual event for this year. With some of the money that we've raised, we're working on a project. If you've never been at the Brookshire or at the Glenridge campus, we have a part of our building that's lovingly referred to as Echo Hallway. And you will understand why the first time you step on campus and you go in Echo Hallway. But Dr. Camacho had a great vision for that, of celebrating the arts programs that are in our school. So we already celebrate athletics like most schools do, but he really had a vision for how to celebrate our band and our orchestra and our chorus and all of these programs that have done such superior rated things in the last 15, 17 years that Glenridge has been in the space that it's in right now. And so that's one of the things that the Glenridge PTSA is funding this year, is actually remodeling that space and hanging the banners and doing all of that. And so that's just one of the things that some of the money from our fundraising will go towards. But we do all different things. If you've been driving around in Baldwin Park or Winter Park, you may see the Renaissance signs in yards. And that's a program that Glenridge has partnered with, Glenridge PTSA has partnered with the Glenridge Middle School to help celebrate the students who are doing exceptionally well in school. And so we did the signs this year as a way to try and connect with the kids that are at home as well as the ones that are in school. We're doing Kona Ice this month. It's one of the things that we as a PTSA are trying to do to give back to the students. We've taken on this year celebrating our teachers every week by snacks in the workroom, which seems like kind of nothing, but the fact that they are just so thankful for a bag of chips or a piece of chocolate it speaks volumes on how we're able to impact our teachers, and happy teachers makes for some happy children and children who are learning. And so that's some of the things that we're trying to do. So we do so much more, and you all know, with your school and 6 vice presidents and a huge board, you have been able to do great things at your school. We would love to have you come alongside Glenridge Middle School and really embrace these middle years. They're so fleeting. There's so much growth in your children over the next 3 years. It's incredible. And just being involved in some form or fashion with PTSA is just one way that you can partner with them and stay connected to them. So I am happy to stick around for questions if you have any for a little while. I will put my email address and my phone number in the thing. If you have questions, want to talk, I'm happy to talk about any of this at any time, but we will be looking for a president, 3 vice presidents, 2 secretaries, a treasurer, I think that's it. So I think that's all
Shannon,
the
what I can do
exec
is,
positions. Yeah.
Shannon, what I can do is we'll post on our Facebook page, and I'll connect with you how to express interest for next year.
Yeah, it'd be great.
And a list of what's available, and we'll post it on our Facebook page.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. But Elise, thank you so much for letting me talk. Happy to hang around for a few minutes if you guys have questions. Glenridge has been a great school and a great fit for my twins, and I'm sad to see them move on to 9th grade and leave the school that they're in. So I hope it's a great experience for all of you. And I do recognize some of the moms on here because my youngest was in class with some of them, like Karen and Carrie, and I can't see everybody else. So yeah, it'll be hopefully a great experience for all of you. Dr. Camacho is great. Mr. Kempinger is great. Mr. Stone is great. So you're in good hands this evening, but enjoy the last little bit of 5th grade. It's going by super fast, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you. Thank you, Shannon.
Sure.
Okay. I am going to make Dr. Camacho. There we go. Okay. If you have the floor, Dr. Camacho, would you like me to share the PowerPoint?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll start with the very first page. All right. Folks, parents, I want to thank you all. I want to thank Ms. Knaus for inviting me. Even though we're not meeting in person, I still want to take this as an opportunity to for us to get to know each other. As Shannon pointed out, we have a great deal to offer, and we have an amazing team, amazing teachers, and I'm just grateful to have this opportunity for us to get to know each other tonight because, I want to get to know each and every one of you. And actually, before we close this, I'd even like to give you all my contact information because I think it's important for parents to have my contact information. So I'll be sure to get that to you. But my goals tonight is, one, I really, really enjoyed how this was being advertised because it made me smile. I think we can all remember what it's like to send our child to kindergarten. And then now we're going to move to middle school, and then we're going to eventually high school and then college. But I do believe this. There are 3 critical moments of transition into school. First one is kindergarten. And I think we all remember what it was like to have that boohoo breakfast, and that boohoo time lasted forever and ever. And then, we send our children to middle school, and then we send them to high school, and then to college. And I will tell you, after dropping off my son to college a couple of years back, it felt like those boohoo years had returned, at least for mom, definitely. So these are critical moments in our children's lives. And we as parents, we as educators, because we're all parents, in this chat, but we all have to understand that there's an important role that we all play. And that one statement that it takes a village to raise a child, that is so true. It takes us all, it will take us all. So I will begin by saying my 3 goals for tonight, because I do have 3 overarching goals, and Mr. Stone and Mr. Kempinger are going to help me with these 3 goals. My first goal is to be able to share with each of you professional insight, but also literature on not only the transition into middle school, but into adolescence, because they're entering their adolescent life. And I believe there's some good reads that I will share with you shortly that I think every parent should have in your library. I want to also share with you our school's strong academic programs, as well as our school culture. And this is where I want to put something very important in here, because we're going to share our academics with you. In 2019, 19 of Winter Park's 21 valedictorians were former Glenridge students. And I share that because that's as a result of the coursework that we provide and that's offered to our students. We're going to share with you opportunities for your students to earn high school credits. Not only high school credits in middle school, but even our IB honors credits. And Mr. Camacho is going to share more information on that later in the presentation, but about how our students can enter high school with a higher GPA and more high school credit opportunities than any other middle school in Orange County. And I share that because that's true. The course offerings we have are second to none. No other middle school in Orange County offers them and can offer the opportunity for a student entering high school to have this number of high school credits, but then also with an IB honors weight, which carries more than just your honors class. And Mr. Camacho will certainly shed light on that a little later. And then my final goal is to, that your student, I want to share with you how your student, as it shares in this flyer, will not only survive, but thrive at Glenridge Middle School and beyond. Because I think what we do is not only set our students up for success here at Glenridge, we set them up for success in high school and then also beyond high school. So because with Glenridge Middle School being one of only 3 schools in the state that are IB school wide, well, that's something special. And it took hard work from teachers, it took hard work from our staff, and a great deal of work behind our parents that have been involved in the years leading up to that NYP certification. I was an assistant principal at Glenridge Middle School 16 years ago when we were a school within a school. And by the time I returned later, we were school-wide. Well, that didn't happen overnight. That took hard work. And Mr. Stone will also be sharing some more insight on our IB program later in the presentation. All right, so I think we're ready to get going. All right, as I mentioned, the transition to middle school is one of 3, what I think is important school transitions. I think that the most important ones are starting elementary school in kindergarten, going to middle school. Now, why do I share that middle school is one of the most important is because they leave elementary school and go to middle school. Well, the common word is school, but they're very different entities. We've now we're transitioning students into an environment where they have 7 teachers. They have the ability to sit where they want to sit. The environment has just changed. Now, the 2 books that I have listed there, parents, I believe these 2 should be a part of any parent's library. Secrets of the Teenage Brain by Cheryl Feinstein, and this is The Teenage Brain, which was just recommended to me actually about 5 months ago, and this one's written by Dr. Jensen, and Dr. Jensen is actually a parent of teenagers. Now, they both take a twist in adolescence. Now, adolescence is defined as the ages of 13 to 22. And as much as 21-year-olds will tell you they're all grown up, I think any of us that have children that old will tell you, no, not the case. So the reason why I share that is that the brain is developing. We'll call it puberty, but it really is brain development. And in my world, in my professional world, and I'm going into year 21 of middle school experience alone, of my 24 years in education, I think this is the most intriguing, developmentally wise, the most intriguing time of an individual's adolescent life. Shannon McDonald mentioned earlier that they will grow so much in this time, and that's true because the brain is developing, and this is where they become people. All of a sudden they've grown and they're starting to become young people with thoughts, and I think it's just the most intriguing time. So parents, I highly encourage you to look into these 2 reads. They're going to shed a lot of light on the development of your child and the growth of them, both emotionally and just psychologically, academically. This is research-based information on how to raise an adolescent. Because I will tell you right now, you should pat yourself on the back. You're going to enter into these teenage years if you haven't done it already, and you're going to make it out okay. I promise you that. So again, I recommend these 2 reads. They're just incredible, incredible as far as research-based literature. And I think you'll thoroughly enjoy them because they will shed some lights. And quite frankly, if you're like me, when I read them, it shed light on my teenage years, and it kind of made me understand, that's why you felt the way you did. That's why you did the way you did. So I encourage you to do that. And I'm pretty certain you'll really enjoy that information. All right. Now, the middle school philosophy entered Orange County in about 1988. Because I still remember, as a product of Orange County, my 7th grade year was junior high, my 8th grade year was middle school, completely different entities. But the middle school concept is where students have 4 core teachers, and we call it a team. Now, I will share that I'm very pleased with the hard work, and I'm gonna credit Mr. Kempinger for doing a lot of this legwork of creating teams this year, because as we had seen in these years prior, many middle schools, despite having the name middle school, had kind of transitioned back into a junior high philosophy where teachers or students didn't have that core group of teachers. So what we did this year is we returned to teaming. So as of right now, the majority of our students, as shared there, about 95% of all of our students belong to a 4-teacher team. So they're going to share the same math teacher, science, social studies, and language arts. Now, I know for us in our IB program, that's language and literature, individuals and societies for social studies. We have science and of course mathematics. Again, Mr. Stone will share more of that language later. But our students have the same teachers, and by having the same teachers, their classes are right next to each other. So there's less travel. They don't have to travel from downstairs to upstairs to get from one academic class to the next. It's literally 20 feet away. So that has certainly helped. It's helped teachers have that professional instructional dialogue on our students. And you'll hear a term later, interdisciplinary units, and how teachers plan, and later on in the presentation. But that is a result of us using the middle school philosophy with our students and putting together that teaming approach. All right, next one. Now, I have names up here that I'd like to share with you all, and I certainly won't read them all. I'd like for you to have the opportunity to read that. But these are folks that I do want you to know. Miss Stacy Mancuso is going to be the 6th grade guidance counselor next year. And then the grade level administrator will be Miss Morgan Fouquet. Now, the approach that we take at Glenridge is one of relationships. For example, this will be your student's guidance counselor and grade level administrator throughout their middle school life. So they will stay together. And I do believe that relationships is the cornerstone to effective learning. It has to be that way. And when we get to know our students for who they are, and you make that relationship, well, it helps throughout their growth. I once heard people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I do believe we do that so well at Glenridge. We get to know our students and to have that relationship and someone with them throughout their entire middle school life, well, that only strengthens that view. Others are listed there. If your student is an exceptional ed student, we have a staffing specialist, a 504 coordinator, as well as a testing coordinator. And the other folks are there. These are resources that if students ever need someone to speak with, I just want you to know that we have several people on campus at the school that have one focus in mind: your child, your student, and their well-being. So that's comforting for me to know that I'm surrounded by some amazing educators, amazing people, that all we do is care for our young people, because we know there's a bigger picture behind this. So I did want to share these names and resources with you. And I believe our next slide will be regarding our IB program, International Baccalaureate Program. So I'll now turn it over to Mr. Stone.
Hi again, folks. It's exciting to be here with you all. As I was talking to Dr. Camacho, Mr. Kempinger, and preparing for this, I was relating it kind of to our Step Up to Middle School 2.0 tonight. Before tonight, hopefully you've had a chance to view our Step Up to Middle School in our virtual space this year. If you haven't had the opportunity, we sent a video that was about a half-hour long to all of the 5th grade teachers, and we asked to share with parents, but if they didn't, we are going to make that available for you all this evening as well, which will not only walk you through the IB program, but through all the other things that are available at our school. It allows you to have a tour of the school alongside your student, and you get to meet all those people that are on the previous slide. You get to kind of see their faces and get to know them a little bit. So my goal tonight is to just kind of touch base about what our IB program is. I did a little bit in the Step Up to Middle School, so I won't go too in depth on this. A little background on me: I was the chorus teacher at Glenridge Middle School before stepping into the role of IB coordinator. So I am a lion through and through. I decided to stay at Glenridge even longer because of how much I care about this program. This in front of you is our program model. Each of the IB programs has a different program model, whether it be the primary years for elementary, the middle years program for middle schools, or the diploma or career-related programs for high school level. At the center of all of these models is the thing that I find the most inspiring thing about an IB program, and that is the learner at the center. And the biggest thing is that it's not necessarily a student, it's a learner, because the students are learners, the teachers are learners, the staff members and the parents and every member of our community is still a learner throughout our entire lives. And that's one of the big things we want to instill in our students. And so there are 10 character traits that we want to have all of our learners within our school community grow and thrive through. That's being caring, being knowledgeable, open-minded, being principled, along with many others. And we actually celebrate students throughout the entire year with our Line of the Month program, celebrating each of those different learner profile traits. Now, right outside that learner profile, you're going to see the different approaches to learning, approaches to teaching, and the ideas of conceptual and contextual learning. The approaches to learning I love to hone in on, especially when we're talking about the benefits of this program. Approaches to learning skills are skills that teachers are going to be teaching explicitly in their classroom that are lifelong learning skills. I was sitting down having some great conversations today with teachers about just how they could teach students to take responsibility for one's own action within their classroom, as well as connecting it to things outside, or how they could advocate for their own wants and needs. These are things that may not come naturally, especially to a middle schooler who's trying to just survive the new social and the new learning setting that they're in. They may need a little bit more explicit guidance in that. And that idea of conceptual learning is how we consider transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary teaching. One of the really interesting things about IB is that we have a conceptual learning approach where we like to have big ideas that we focus on that we can teach our content through. For instance, some of the concepts that our students learn are about communication, about culture and development. And so the idea here is that if they're learning about development in their band class, for instance, the development of a band program or the development of yourself as a band student, they'll also learn about development in their world cultures class and what it meant to develop a different society. Or they'll learn about development in their language and literature class and how it means to develop an essay or develop a story as an author. And so what our teachers try to do is teach their content through these concepts and help students make these connections to these big picture ideas. Now, there are 8 subjects that students take in the IB. And actually, you can stay back on that slide. I'm going to make your life lots of easy and not make you switch to any other slides tonight. Around the outside are all 8 subject areas. Some of them may be a little bit different names than a traditional middle school. And it is to help with the understanding of the international mindset. So you have that language and literature, which is your commonly known as English language arts course. The IB is offered generally in 3 different languages, English, French, and Spanish. So we make it language and literature so that it can transcend any of those 3 languages. We have individuals and societies, which helps students understand not only who they are as people, but how they can connect beyond. So that's your world cultures class for 6th grade, civics for 7th grade, and US history for 8th grade. We have our mathematics courses and our sciences courses, which are kind of your traditional that you'd expect, again, taught with those big picture ideas in mind. Every student does take an arts course. We offer a multitude of arts courses at Glenridge, and we are very proud of them. Me coming from an arts program, I am particularly proud of that. But we offer band, chorus, orchestra, theater, as well as visual arts to all of our students. They do get to choose which one they would like to take, but they are required to take an arts course of some sort. Students then take a language acquisition course or a foreign language, whether that be French or Spanish, as well as a design course and a physical and health education course. The design course is normally known as your general technology. We teach the design cycle through that course and have students experience what it's like to investigate a problem, plan a solution, and try out that solution and evaluate how they do. The final thing that I want to just kind of touch on a little bit is another one of those inner circles, which focuses on action and service. So part of being an IB school is that the purpose and the mission statement from the IB states that we want students to become better people for the world. And so we do that through action and service as action. And so each quarter, students are asked to perform one services action of their choosing, whatever that may be: volunteering, working to collect for Ricetoberfest, or with UNICEF, working to donate for a children's hospital drive around the holidays, or doing a cleanup around campus, or picking up trash or recycling program around the park. Which culminates in the community project when they're in 8th grade, where they lead something within their community. And what's been really great to see is how students this year adapted. We had students who created coloring books about COVID safety and fire safety protocols to share with elementary schools, or they created fun presentations to share virtually with different folks. We had students who collected and donated to Second Harvest Food Bank or to various homeless shelters in a very safe way, following all the CDC guidelines. Our students got creative, and they are still able to accomplish all of the goals of this program. And I was blown away with how much they overcame the adversity. And it really, really just showed how the skills that they've grown throughout the years helped them overcome these boundaries. So it was really, really great to see. I believe I've hit on all of the things. The last thing I did want to touch on that I don't think was a part of our initial conversation was Ms. McDonald did mention the Renaissance program, which we are thrilled to have, where we once a quarter, we love to display or have some kind of celebration for our students that are performing well academically. And at the very last quarter, we do have an evening of excellence every year that celebrates those students that have been able to be successful throughout the entire course of the school year. But we celebrate students that not only are successful, but students who grow, because maybe some students aren't successful first quarter, and that's okay. But if they show growth, we do find ways to celebrate those success as well. because ultimately we just want our students to feel a sense of that community and a sense of belonging here at Glenridge. So that's all I have, and I'm going to hand things over to Mr. Kempinger.
And if you don't mind, I just want to take this moment just to remind people that the chat box is open. So please use that to tell me your questions, and we're happy to take that. It's opened. Well, we do have a presentation. We would love to hear from you guys and what's on your mind. Okay.
Good evening. I think we're gonna switch to the next slide for myself. This can kind of start with what I want to talk about. And thank you for having us here, all of us tonight. We appreciate you guys taking the time to learn a little bit more about Glenridge. I kind of think of Glenridge Middle School sort of like the old Hebrew National ad slogan is we answer to a higher authority, and that's sort of where we are at Glenridge. I mean, we have to adhere to the expectations of the district, but at the same time, as Mr. Stone had gone through, IB is, globally recognized. And so we fit all of the things that we have to do and that all of the other schools in Orange County Public Schools try to do under the umbrella of the IB program. And this is only my I guess this would be March 13th would be, the year mark for me to have students at Glenridge with myself, because I got moved here in June of the year prior. So it's not been a long time, and I'm learning a ton from Mr. Stone and Dr. Camacho, but I'm just going to go over a few things that we offer that nobody else in the district can do. Because I think that if you've had other students go through middle school, or you have friends that have, have middle schoolers, I'm sure you're aware of your options, and I really just wanted to hit on some of the things that at Glenridge, what the difference is, right? And so we do have an 8-course expectation, which is initially out of the gate is something that is not at any other middle school in Orange County, and that includes K-8s as well. We have eight courses that and subject areas that everyone will take each 3 years, and that includes, as you can see from the slide, our arts programs, band, chorus, theater, and orchestra, which are phenomenal, recognized throughout the district for their excellence year in and year out. I believe we're probably the only middle school in OCPS that has a band that requires and necessitates 2 band instructors due to its size. So we did offer last year. We added, it's part of my responsibility is creating the master schedule and working through the logistics. We had a new a new theater teacher come on board. She wanted to include technical theater for students that are interested in the back of the house sort of events. We've included that class going forward. So students that might not be interested in performing in front of people, now they have an opportunity to show their strengths there. Our design courses, probably another highlight of the curriculum, in that they have through a grant, we have been able to purchase virtual reality goggles. So our students are going through a progression. One of the things that I talked about with our teachers is understanding a progression of academics. So our students now in our design courses will go through a progression for 3 years that gets them prepared for something that they want to do in high school. So our focus now is on the audio visual, and one section of those progressions would be the use of programming, virtual reality programs and stuff like that. So something that, again, no one else has in our area. When we talked about, Dr. Camacho had mentioned the fact that we do have IB course codes, and those IB course codes are obviously unique to us, and they're open to everybody on our campus. So those IB course codes, that would be geometry, algebra, and then Spanish 1, Spanish 2 for a select group of people, as well as French 1. Those course codes that we would have our students progress through, most of our students progress through, are on a 6.0 grading scale, as opposed to an honors course code that would only be on a 5.0 scale. So right off the bat, I mean, our students walk out with an advantage, and we're proud of that. I think just recently, looking at a report from the district, we have 14 students, second language speakers. So they've come to us from another country, and they have a high school GPA of over a 5.0. And so to set them up for that kind of success, walking in the doors of the 9th grade center is something we are very proud of. Next year, we will be adding a agricultural science course that is a high school credit as well. Now so that'll make 3 high school credit courses in science that we'll offer, though those will not be on the IB scale. Those will be a traditional honors 5.0 scale, but we will be the only school in the area offering this agricultural science course that we think that our students, all of our students, will probably be fighting over to get into with Ms. Vargas. And on top of that, we have industry certifications that our students can walk out the door with, paired to, you know, an authentic certification that says they're qualified in either in Microsoft Office suite or other programs. So just some really unique items that our school offers in academics. The other side of the house that I kind of was tasked with when I walked in was sort of working through the logistics of, like Dr. Camacho had mentioned, the middle school model, what we want our students to be able to experience. If you've been on our campus, our core classrooms, our academic classrooms are inside of the 600 building. It's a 2-story building. Prior to me being here, prior to a couple years ago, things were just a little bit spread out. This year, like Dr. Camacho said, we have 95% of our students in 6th grade, it's probably even a little bit higher than that, that share the same 4 core teachers, which is great for their academics and their relationships, but it also helps with their proximity. Our students pretty much don't have to leave a single hallway unless it's to go to their arts, to their physical ed and health teacher, and not even their design course. Even their design course in our 6th grade is in the same hallway. So we've done a lot to make sure that our students, it's a smoother transition for them in such a big campus. You know, we are at 1,150 students. And so for students coming in from an elementary school that maybe had 400 or fewer, it's a big change. So we try to kind of work their transitions a little bit more gradually. So we have that going on in our master schedule, and as well as the sharing of the 4 core teachers that we believe is really going to help with the interdisciplinary units study that, in my opinion and in my experience, just doesn't happen in many other schools. So the other aspect that I wanted to kind of highlight, which is unique to Glenridge, I think, I can't swear by it, but when we went to teams, one of the emphases that we needed to address was that we have a large population of gifted students that learn differently and at accelerated rates, and require some special training to deal with them. So we have 9 teams on our campus, 3 6th grade, 3 7th grade, 3 8th grade teams. Each one of those teams has 1 gifted teacher on it. That's a total of 9 gifted endorsed teachers on our campus, and we're in the process of endorsing about 4 more that should complete by the end of this year or next year. And that's a testament to our teachers who continuously want to be trained. But it's also a benefit to all 1,150 students, because all 1,150 students are able to be exposed to a teacher who is endorsed in the gifted instruction, which I 100% can tell you is very unlikely at any other school in our district. So I mean, that pretty much covers the overview of the academic side of the house, and I'll just leave it up to any other open-ended questions that you might have at the end. I know that I think the next slide is about clubs and athletics, but that all middle schools have the same 4 athletics programs. We're pretty darn good and we're pretty proud of them. But all schools offer the 4 athletic teams. And then as far as clubs go, Mr. Conti, if you're familiar with Mr. Steve Conti, our other AP, that guy goes above and beyond to find ways to get kids engaged in school. We know the value of being involved in school. For some of our students, it might not be the core academics that gets them, you know, excited to show up 9 o'clock in the morning, 9:30 in the morning. And so we go above and beyond, and Steve handles that side of the house. But I think we have upwards of 20 clubs this year. And he'll tell you that if you have a passion or if you have an idea, he'll find you a sponsor as long as you can get in some people to join with them. So those are just, you know, I mean, it goes without saying that we would be open to whatever ideas our kids have. So I think that's it for me, but maybe not.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add your 2 colleagues back to the spotlight here. And I have 3 questions that have come in from the chat. So let's see. The first one is, how do students enroll in the IB program?
So I'll take that one. All of our students are IB students, and that's one of the things that's unique about Glenridge. It used to be that we were a school within a school model, but the IB has a strong belief that the middle years program is meant for all students. So we have levels, we have the honors level coursework, and we do have advanced level coursework as well. But every single one of our students is taught through the IB middle years program framework. And so there's no application necessary because we are a neighborhood school.
Okay, thank you. Will GPA credit calculate into the high school? I'm sorry. Will high school level classes calculate into the high school GPA? So if you're taking a high school credit class in middle school, will it go towards your high school GPA?
Yes, it will. Yes.
Okay. Okay. And lastly, I believe that kids have already selected electives for the next school year. Can they make changes to their school schedule?
I believe the answer to that would be that if you would like to make any kinds of changes, that they would ask to reach out to Miss Mancuso. Her email is available on our school website. And if Daniel, you want to offer any other insight into that.
Yeah, we actually just, well, our kids received from the feeder schools, they received their course requests maybe a few weeks ago. We just received them back. Miss Vandegrift, she's our lead counselor. She's put it all together on a neat little one-sheeter so everybody can see what was requested and then where we've placed them academically currently. And I do say that now because that will change academically. But most importantly, you'll be getting something from your feeder school, from Baldwin Park, to say that the forms are there and you can pick them up, or maybe they'll send them home, not sure. But there's a link both on a VR code and a website that allows you to kind of provide some feedback and provide some input as to whether or not you're happy with the selection, or you wanted, your child chose something that you don't think that they're ready for. You'll have that opportunity. That should be coming back to you guys. We sent them home here this week. You probably will get them next week, I would think. Before spring break is our goal.
Okay, great. And I will mention that you guys do have the ability to unmute yourselves. So if you feel that I've butchered your question or you have a follow-up to it, please feel free to unmute yourself and hop on. It's a free open format. I have 2 other questions. Do honor level courses earn high school credits?
Not all honor. So when you read your child's schedule in 6th grade, it would be a very unusual situation for you to have an honors high school credit class. Our IB, so when you see them, they'll say something like MJ, maybe no, I think it'll say MYP, IB, honors, ELA, or something to that extent. Those are not high school credit classes. So it's not like a direct one-to-one, it says honors, so it's high school. I don't think, there are rare exceptions, but we shouldn't have any sixth graders earning high school credits. Now we do have a track where, especially in mathematics, where we can get our students 2 years of high school credits. That would be algebra, IB algebra, and IB geometry, but they start in obviously 7th grade. They're if that's a track that you're interested in, your student really excels in math and things like that, we're going to reach out to those parents, because we still think that there's other steps and other ways to prepare for that big of a leap. So we meet with those parents and discuss those options. But so it's not an honors equals high school. Like I think you saw the slide earlier, there's potentially 2 science credits you can walk out of here with, 2 math credits you can walk out of here with, and at least 1 high school credit, which at the minimum would get you halfway through your requirements at the for the language acquisition. And then potentially for native speakers, we could probably get you through 2 years of high school credit foreign language.
Okay, great. 2 more questions have come in. How will differentiated lessons be delivered to gifted students if there are no enrichment classes per se?
Okay. So our gifted model is one that occurs through a core academic class. So, and that's probably as a father of 2 students that have come through the gifted program at the elementary level, it's probably the biggest shift that we've seen depending on the model that occurs down at Baldwin. I know that schools go with clusters, and schools go and at times we change intermittently, so I understand that. So when we look at the gifted expectations and the requirements for our gifted students, we believe that the rigor of our IB honors courses will meet the demands of the students that are deemed gifted. It's the instructional model and the expectations within the products that we would need to shift and need to adjust. What is it that the students do to demonstrate? But the reality is that because we're an IB program, project-based learning and within our unit plans, it's a natural fit. So it's really not that we're limiting or our gifted students are being limited. It's that they're being invited to complete these tasks sometimes with students that might not have a label attached to them. But as far as the expectations, those courses are very demanding rigorously. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. Lastly, is there a National Honor Society at Glenridge?
Yes, and let Dr. Camacho share that.
No, National Junior Honor Society. To answer the question, yes, it is.
Okay, great. And back to the discussion about our gifted children, will the gifted students have a gifted endorsed teacher for their 4 core classes?
Right. So that middle school model is a little different, right? So we have 7 periods in the day, and we meet the gifted EP through a 47-minute course with a gifted endorsed teacher. So definitely. And it depends on the content area, which is unique, right? Because like I've been at schools where we have 1 gifted endorsed teacher and they teach ELA. And so that's how we do things. That's where you get your gifted instruction. At our school, we have individuals and societies teachers that are gifted. We have math teachers that are gifted. We have ELA teachers that are gifted. And because we're teamed, so let's just take a look at your students will be rising sixth graders. They'll have the 4 core teachers. At least one of them, at the very minimum, one of them will be gifted endorsed. But what it allows us to do is our teachers meet weekly for PLCs that are content related. So if I'm an ELA teacher and I meet once a week with my and I'm a gifted and endorsed teacher, I meet with my other ELA teachers once a week. But I also have the opportunity 4 other days a week to meet with my teammates, my teachers on my team that are my math, my science, and ELA, or I'm the ELA teachers, math, science, and social studies teachers, so that we can plan those interdisciplinary lessons and continue those standards and those expectations of our gifted students. We know that gifted students learn differently, and that's really got to be the focus, right? It's not a 4 or 5 on an FSA that determines your student or your son, your daughter's gifted. The gifted moniker is saying, look, my child thinks differently. My child needs to be pushed here. And some gifted students excel in one area and not so much in another area. So we're aware of all those things when we're scheduling them. And when we're putting together our students on teams, one of the things that we've done in the last summer, which is unusual, is I've been an API for 6 years now. I meet with every feeder school to go over the students that are rising up to our class. I want to know challenges that they may have had in their elementary classrooms. I want to know who works well with what type of teacher. I know my one son I have wants a teacher that's going to lay down the hammer, and the other son wants somebody that's going to give him a hug every single day he walks in the room. And I know they'll respond differently, and no matter how much content knowledge the teacher has. So we meet with our feeder schools. Either I'll meet with an AP or a principal or their guidance department to discuss those things. So we hand scheduled. I just wanted to let you know this, and because I'm super proud of the team's effort. We hand scheduled 1,150 students last year. That means no auto push button, no click it and go. My guidance department did not like it. My guidance team was a little bit upset. But what we've seen is the result of matching students with our teams. That's resulted in fewer discipline problems, fewer issues on campus, and an overall, I think, positive feeling. So I know the challenges of gifted students have, and we are going to push those students to the next level. At the same time, I can promise you that we're going to, take the time to learn about our students and make sure that they get put in the best possible position that we can put them in.
Thank you. Thank you for that thoughtful answer.
Sure.
I don't have any other questions that have come in, so we can move on to the last topic, which was safety and security. There you go. Okay.
All right, I'll take that one right there. Just so we know that when we do look at our school safety and supervision plan, we look at the big picture, and even in light of, recent events with COVID, for example. It started off with 3 of us, and that was me, Mr. Kempinger, and Mr. Steve Conti, and I walked in just saying, look, we need a day in a life approach, because we need to know one thing: we're going to have to operate differently this year than we have in the past. And we looked at it as arrival, class changes, lunches, dismissal. So when your student comes to Glenridge, what we do for arrival is we have grade level areas. And that right there helps reduce the traffic in certain areas, the congregation of students, and then it just allows us to supervise the campus in a much more efficient way. Class changes, for example, we have 2 bells. The first bell is only for students that are leaving the hallway for their next class, whether they're going to an elective class, going to PE, band, art, chorus, that requires them to leave their hallway. And then 1 minute later, another bell rings for students who were just going across the hall for their next class. So therefore, it reduces hallway traffic, congestion, and right now we're talking about social distancing and safety practices. That has helped tremendously. And as Mr. Camacho pointed out, in years past, we had students traveling from downstairs to upstairs, back downstairs, and so forth throughout the day. So by teaming and having the core classes in the same hallway, students don't have to travel as far. For lunches, what we do is we have 3 main areas for students to choose. There's indoor dining and there's outdoor. We've opened it up this year, of course, with social distancing. We've opened up the courtyard and we have ample seating throughout the entire courtyard, the patio. We also use our multi-purpose room as well as our cafeteria. And then during dismissal, we dismiss by section or hallways, if you will. And that way it's a staggered release. So not all students are traveling at the same time. Again, thereby reducing that congestion in the hallways. We get 1/3 of the campus out basically before the next hallway is even called. So that has certainly helped. Next year, we're going to be receiving, actually it should be started here in the next month or so, I hope, and based on the meetings we've had, is new fencing around the campus. Right now, our tennis courts are fenced in, but there's actually going to raise the fencing on our tennis courts, and they're going to actually install fencing around our basketball courts, and they're going to install fencing such that the exterior area cannot, it keeps the campus secure. You know, in light of Stoneman Douglas, we have to keep that in mind, that it's important for our schools to remain safe from the outside area. Now, we live in a beautiful area, so we're in a different situation, but it's now Orange County Public Schools policy that all schools have 270-degree fencing around their perimeter. Actually, and this next year, we're going to be getting, actually over the summer, we're going to have an upgrade to our camera system. Right now, we have about 40 cameras, and in 2003, boy, that was top-notch camera work and system. But we're now in 2021, so it's time for an upgrade. So not only are those going to be replaced, we're going to, in addition to those, we're going to have about 70 more new cameras. So we'll probably have about 115, 120 cameras when it's all said and done. Higher quality, we'll have the ability to zoom in. We've identified blind spots around the campus. So with all that, we are going to have a very, very safe campus, monitored 24/7, can be monitored online at any time. And we will also have access to that. So that way we don't have to just use the servers at school or the cameras while at school. We're going to be able to view them 24/7. So these are updated safety enhancements that we're going to have on our campus within the next year. And I believe that may put us at the end of our presentation. I hope we didn't go too far over your time at home. But if certainly we are available if you all have any questions for us.
Yeah, so I have, you mentioned about fencing, so I think this is like a good segue to this question.
Sure.
So I think currently during PE, students are able, or they do run through Blue Jacket Park. It's the thing in the fenced-in track area and like the immediate schoolyard. And I think there's some concerns about that and why do PE teachers do that? Maybe with the new fencing that will change. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. No, and we're working with our PE teachers because we should not be going out to Blue Jacket Park during the school day. Our goal, that's why the track is enclosed. And by closing it off, we're actually going to be able to keep the students in the track area, and they won't have access to going outside of the school property any longer. Yeah, great question.
Okay, and this is my question. Will the fences will be one of those things where it's like open on nights and weekends, so the community can still use the basketball court and the tennis court?
Absolutely. Glenridge Middle School, actually Orange County Public Schools, is in an agreement with the Baldwin Park community, the city of Orlando. So absolutely, there will be signage on there, updated signage, that it's only, the school uses it during school hours. And what that translates to, it's typically a half hour before school starts, so roughly 9 o'clock, until after our after school program ends, which is at 6 p.m. So between those hours, the school uses those facilities. Outside of those hours, it's open to the community, and that will remain that way as well.
Okay, great. I don't see any other questions. Any other questions? You feel free to unmute and to speak up, or if you want to use the chat. And I have resources available on our Facebook page afterwards, so you can see what books Dr. Camacho has recommended and the YouTube video, and I'm sure that he is open to your questions afterward via email. All right, I don't see anything else. Well, thank you so much. This was really informative. And I only have a 4th grader, but I'm so excited for her to attend Glenridge Middle. You guys did an excellent job.
Well, thank you, Ms. Canals.
All
I
right.
look forward to having your daughter there.
Thank you.
Yes. And thank you all again. Thank you for allowing us this time to get to know each other. I did promise you my contact information, and I mean that. I give parents my cell number. A lot of people tell me I'm crazy for doing that. I don't mind. I tell anybody I'm usually checking by 6 a.m. and I'm usually checking it up until when my boss at home tells me, okay, it's time. And I go, yes, ma'am. And I follow along. But, and I tell anybody, the worst I can do is if someone abuses it, I just block the number. So I'm okay with that. So as I promised, my cell phone number, and then you're more than welcome to log it in or write it down somewhere. It's 407-925-8881.